When a man is truly moved by you, something ancient awakens within him. It is not loud. It does not announce itself. It rises quietly, like truth surfacing after a long sleep. You become the place where his spirit rests, the place where his guard lowers, the place where he finally allows himself to be seen without armor. You see, when a man is crazy about you, he doesn't always say it with words. He expresses it through the subtle movements of his heart. He becomes protective not because he thinks you are weak, but because loving you activates his deepest instinct to create safety, stability, and peace around you. It is his soul's way of saying you matter, your world matters, your well-being matters, and then something even more sacred happens. He begins to show parts of himself he hides from everyone else. His doubts, his dreams, the wounds he has carried alone. These pieces are not given lightly. They are the currency of real intimacy. When a man lets you into his inner world, it is because his spirit recognizes yours. It is because he feels that you can hold what he cannot hold alone. His attention becomes intentional. You are no longer an option in a crowded room. You become the priority in a noisy world. He remembers the little things, not because he tries to, but because your presence naturally lives in his awareness. This is not obsession. This is devotion, the kind of devotion that builds slowly, steadily, quietly, until it becomes undeniable. In subtle ways, he begins to mirror you. Your laughter becomes the echo he wants more of. Your interests weave their way into his life. He starts speaking your emotional language, not because he is trying to impress you, but because love makes us move toward what feels like home. And as his feelings deepen, so does his vision. He talks about the future differently. He imagines differently. He plans differently. Without saying it outright, he begins to form a life that has room for you in it. This is not fantasy. This is alignment. A spiritual recognition that partnership is not just about romance, it's about purpose. But the greatest sign of all is action. Steady, consistent, grounded action. A man who is crazy about you does not leave you confused. He does not disappear into excuses. He shows up. He follows through. He chooses you not just in moments of passion, but in moments of responsibility. Because real love is not found in intensity, it is found in intention. And so, I ask you to listen not to his words, but to the rhythm beneath them. Not to his charm, but to his consistency. Not to his promises, but to his patterns. This is where the truth lies. May you recognize the kind of love that honors your soul. May you choose the love that chooses you. And may you always remember, real devotion is never hidden. It may be quiet, but it is unmistakable. When a man's heart is truly stirred by a woman, his protective instinct rises in ways that are both ancient and deeply human. This instinct is not rooted in dominance or control. It is rooted in care, reverence, and emotional loyalty. It appears quietly at first, almost imperceptibly, through small, thoughtful gestures. He pays attention to your comfort, your safety, and your emotional peace. Not because he believes you cannot care for yourself, but because something within him feels called to contribute to your well-being. Protection, in this sense, is not physical alone. In fact, the deeper form of protection is emotional. When a man is crazy about you, he becomes mindful of how his words land on your heart. He wants you to feel understood, not dismissed, safe, not judged. He becomes intentional with how he speaks to you, how he responds, and how he shows up. You begin to notice that he listens differently. His presence becomes a kind of shelter, an energy that says, without words, you don't have to face the world alone. You might see this instinct in the way he watches over you in social situations, ensuring you're comfortable without being possessive. You might feel it when he checks on you after a long day, or when he helps you navigate a challenge without trying to take control. He listens not to fix everything, but to hold space, to offer the strength behind you, not in front of you. This is the subtlety of a man who is deeply invested. His protection does not limit your freedom. It expands your sense of support. There is also a spiritual dimension to this instinct. When a man feels emotionally connected, he naturally wants to guard the bond he's building. He becomes careful with your heart, not out of fear, but out of respect. He knows that connection is fragile and sacred, and he does not want his actions to create cracks where trust should grow. You'll notice he becomes more patient, more grounded, more considerate. He begins to measure his steps, not because he is afraid to lose you, but because he recognizes your value and wants to rise to the level of the connection he feels with you. This protective instinct shows up internally as well. You may never see the silent battles he fights on your behalf, the inner decisions he makes to grow, to heal, to evolve, so he can be someone worthy of the bond he feels forming. When a man is crazy about you, he often becomes a better version of himself without even realizing it. He starts to evaluate his habits, his choices, his patterns, not because you asked, but because loving you awakens a sense of responsibility within him. He may begin to think long-term, not only in the sense of future plans, but in how he handles conflict, how he communicates, how he respects your boundaries. A man who is emotionally invested does not want temporary satisfaction. He wants lasting connection, and so protection becomes a form of consistency. He protects your peace by being honest. He protects your confidence by encouraging you. He protects your emotions by being considerate. He protects your time by being reliable. This instinct is also seen in moments of silence, in how he stands beside you when you are overwhelmed, in how he notices when you withdraw and makes space without making pressure, in how he checks in even when he is busy, tired, or overwhelmed. His protection becomes a silent partnership between your strength and his presence. Ultimately, when a man is truly crazy about you, protection becomes his natural language of care. It is the quiet, steady, powerful force that reveals the depth of his attachment, spoken not through dramatic gestures, but through the everyday devotion that says, "Your world matters to me, your heart matters to me, and I will guard what we are building, not out of duty, but out of love." When a man is genuinely crazy about you, something subtle but profound begins to unfold within him. He starts revealing layers of himself he normally keeps hidden from the world. This selective vulnerability is not a performance, nor is it careless exposure. It is deliberate in its sincerity, sacred in its timing, and deeply meaningful in its intention. Men are often conditioned to move through life with emotional armor, quiet strength, composed exteriors, controlled expressions. But when he feels a bond that touches him beyond attraction, he begins to allow cracks of truth to appear, letting you see the parts of him he shields from everyone else. This vulnerability may begin with small disclosures. He might tell you about a moment of insecurity, a childhood wound, or a dream he's been afraid to pursue. To others, these may seem like minor details, but for a man who rarely shares, these moments are monumental. He is offering you pieces of his internal world, not to burden you, but to build intimacy. He wants you to know him, not the version he presents to society, not the image he maintains at work or among friends, but the unfiltered man behind the roles he carries. As he grows more emotionally invested, this openness expands. He begins to trust you with the feelings he has not yet mastered, the fears he hasn't fully named, and the hopes he only whispers in the privacy of his mind. This isn't weakness. It is strength choosing connection over self-protection. When a man exposes his inner world, he is saying, "I feel safe with you. I believe you can hold this part of me gently." And safety for him is not comfort. It is confidence that you will not use his vulnerability as ammunition, judgment, or leverage. Selective vulnerability also shows up in the way he shares his dreams, not the polished, predictable ones he tells the world, but the raw, authentic ones that matter deeply to him. The dreams he fears may not work out, the aspirations he holds close to his chest. When he tells you what he hopes to build, who he hopes to become, or what he prays life will bring him, he is inviting you into the architecture of his soul. There are emotional openings you don't ask for, but he gives anyway. He lets you see his stress on hard days. He admits when he struggles. He reveals when he feels unsure. These are not confessions he makes lightly. Men often carry their burdens quietly, believing it is their role to stay strong. So when he lets you see him in his unguarded moments, he is not failing. He is trusting. You may notice he becomes more reflective with you. He shares memories, regrets, moments that shaped him. He lets silence linger with comfort instead of fear. He allows you to witness his emotional internal processing, something he would hide from others. He might even express confusion, saying he doesn't have all the answers. This is a man stepping beyond pride, choosing connection over ego. Selective vulnerability is also seen in his willingness to let you influence him. He listens to your perspective. He respects your insight. He lets your presence soften him, guide him, steady him. Men do not allow emotional influence from someone they do not deeply value. When he is crazy about you, he lets you see both the warrior and the wounded boy, the confident achiever and the uncertain dreamer. And he allows your presence to make him better. There is a softness that emerges when he speaks to you, a gentleness that doesn't appear in other spaces. His voice becomes more open. His eyes hold honesty. His body language relaxes. These physical cues are not accidental. They are signals of internal trust. You become a sanctuary where he doesn't need to perform strength, where authenticity replaces resistance. Ultimately, selective vulnerability is not about how much he shares. It's about who he becomes when he shares it. When a man reveals his emotional truth to you, it is because you have touched a place within him that feels safe, valued, and deeply connected. His openness becomes a bridge, a bond, and an invitation into the core of who he is. It is one of the clearest signs that his feelings for you are not just passionate, they are deeply, profoundly real. When a man is genuinely crazy about you, his attention begins to shift in ways that are subtle yet unmistakably intentional. It is no longer scattered or divided. It becomes focused, present, and deliberately directed toward you. And it's not because he forces himself to pay attention. It's because something in him naturally aligns with you. You become a part of his inner radar, woven into his awareness in a way that feels instinctive rather than effortful. His mind returns to you, his energy gravitates toward you, and his actions begin to revolve around, ensuring your connection grows stronger. This intentional attention shows up first in consistency. He doesn't reach out randomly or on impulse alone. He communicates with a sense of rhythm, as if he's making space for you in his daily life. He remembers what you tell him, not just the highlights, but the small details you never expected anyone to hold on to. The story about your childhood, the name of your favorite tea, the song that moves you, the struggles you quietly carry. These memories become important to him because you are important to him. When he brings them up later, it's not to impress you. It's because they stayed with him. You notice he pays attention to your emotional shifts. He can sense when your tone changes, when something weighs on you, or when you're not fully yourself. This kind of emotional attunement comes from a place of deep interest. He doesn't rush to fix things. Instead, he seeks to understand. He wants to know what your heart needs, what brings you peace, what disrupts your balance. He listens not just with his ears, but with intention, with presence, with the desire to truly know who you are beneath the surface. Intentional attention also expresses itself through the way he shows up. He begins to prioritize spending time with you, not out of obligation, but out of desire. He adjusts his schedule, he makes effort, he finds ways to stay connected even on busy days. When a man is deeply invested, he doesn't let distance, stress, or routine weaken his presence. He stays engaged, he stays close, he stays mindful. Even when he can't be physically with you, he makes sure you feel emotionally seen. This level of attention is different from infatuation. Infatuation is loud, impulsive, and intense. Intentional attention is steady, rooted, and thoughtful. He studies you, not to analyze, but to appreciate. He notices the way you think, the way you speak, the way you react to the world. He pays attention to what excites you, what drains you, what inspires you. He wants to understand your patterns, not to change them, but to move in harmony with them. You might experience this through the questions he asks. He wants depth, not just surface-level conversation. He wants to know your opinions, your fears, your beliefs, your values. He wants to understand the architecture of your mind. A man who is crazy about you seeks connection at both the emotional and intellectual levels. He invests his mental energy into learning you, not just being with you. There is also a shift in how he observes you in shared environments. He notices when you're uncomfortable, when you're excited, when you feel out of place, when you shine. His attention becomes a quiet form of care. He becomes aware of your needs even before you voice them. He respects your boundaries, your rhythms, and your individuality. Another layer of intentional attention is how he adapts. He begins to fine-tune his behavior because he is mindful of how his presence affects you. He becomes more thoughtful with his words, more aware of his actions, more attuned to how he can bring value to your life. He is not trying to be perfect. He is simply trying to be present. For him, connection is not background noise. It becomes a focal point of his energy. When a man is deeply invested, you will feel his attention as a warm, steady light rather than a flickering flame. It does not overwhelm you. It surrounds you. It gives you space while still making you feel chosen. It is one of the most powerful signs of his emotional investment, because real attention cannot be faked, forced, or fabricated. It emerges from the heart, from the soul, from a place of genuine care, and it becomes one of the clearest reflections of how deeply he feels for you. When a man is truly crazy about you, something fascinating happens almost without his awareness. He begins to mirror your emotional world. This mirroring is not imitation, nor is it an attempt to copy you. It is a natural, subconscious synchronizing of energies, values, rhythms, and expressions. It's his spirit leaning toward yours, attuning itself to your frequency the same way two instruments tune to create harmony. It's a reflex born from emotional investment, a quiet way of saying, "I'm with you, I feel you, I understand you." This mirroring begins subtly. He adopts certain expressions or phrases you use, not because he's trying to be like you, but because being connected to you makes your language imprint on him. When a man is emotionally drawn to someone, he naturally absorbs the parts of them that feel warm, familiar, or meaningful. You may notice him repeating something you said last week, referencing your perspectives, or integrating your humor into conversations. These are not coincidences, they are reflections of connection. He begins to take interest in what you love. If you enjoy a certain type of music, he'll listen to it, not because it's his favorite, but because it gives him a doorway into your world. If you're passionate about a particular topic, he starts learning about it. He may not always express it openly, but he's paying attention. He's following the threads that lead him closer to your inner landscape. A man who is crazy about you wants to understand what shapes your joy, what fuels your purpose, and what lights you up from within. Mirroring also appears in emotional responses. When you're excited, he matches your enthusiasm. When you're stressed, he becomes more grounded. When you're reflective, he softens into silence with you. This emotional resonance is not compliance, it's attunement. It shows that he is not only hearing you but feeling with you. He becomes aware of your emotional tempo and shifts his presence to meet you where you are. This is one of the strongest signs of emotional investment, because men do not naturally adapt their emotional patterns unless they deeply care. He begins to align with your values as well. If kindness matters to you, you'll notice him practicing it more consciously. If you've shared something meaningful about how you view relationships, he begins incorporating those principles into the way he treats you. When you express your boundaries, he respects them, even if his initial instincts differ. Mirroring values is not about losing himself. It is about evolving with you, building compatibility, and creating a shared emotional language. This kind of synchronizing becomes even more evident in the way he communicates. Over time, he learns how you process emotions, how you prefer to be spoken to, what makes you feel safe, and what makes you feel disconnected. And he naturally adapts. You might notice his tone becomes gentler, his responses become more patient, or his expressions become more thoughtful. These shifts show that your presence influences him in meaningful ways. He is learning your emotional map and allowing himself to be guided by it. Mirroring also appears in shared routines. If you text at certain times, he falls into that rhythm. If you enjoy certain daily rituals, tea at night, walks in the morning, a moment of silence before sleep, he begins to integrate similar patterns into his own life. It's not about copying your habits, it's about creating points of connection. Emotional closeness thrives in shared rhythms, and his subconscious recognizes that. On a deeper level, he starts reflecting your emotional courage. When you are honest, he becomes more honest. When you are vulnerable, he becomes more vulnerable. When you express your needs clearly, he starts expressing his own. You become a mirror that helps him access pieces of himself he kept hidden. This is not manipulation, it is transformation. Relationships that touch the soul tend to awaken growth, and he mirrors the parts of you that inspire him to evolve. Even his body language begins to align with yours. He leans in when you lean in, softens when you soften, relaxes when you relax. His gestures become more open, more receptive, more connected. These are not rehearsed behaviors. They are instinctive responses to emotional attraction. Mirroring, at its core, is a silent symphony of connection. It reveals not only his interest, but his openness, his attunement, and his willingness to step into emotional intimacy. It is the way his heart says, "Your world shapes mine, your presence moves me, I am learning you. Not because I have to, but because I want to." When a man is truly invested in you, his vision of future begins to shift in ways that feel subtle yet profoundly meaningful. This isn't something he announces loudly or makes dramatic speeches about. It often happens quietly, through the way he speaks, plans, and thinks. A deep emotional connection awakens a sense of long-term alignment within him. He starts imagining scenarios, possibilities, and paths where you naturally fit, not as an accessory, but as a presence woven into the fabric of his life. This shift is one of the clearest indicators that his feelings are not temporary. They are rooted, intentional, and carrying forward momentum. You begin to notice it first in conversation. He mentions things happening months from now and includes you effortlessly, without hesitation. It might be as simple as saying asterisk, "We should go there sometime," asterisk or asterisk. "I'd love for you to meet them one day," asterisk. These aren't accidental words. They reflect a subconscious assumption that you will still be beside him. He speaks with a tone that suggests continuity, not uncertainty. He isn't trying to lock you into a future. He's opening the door to one he genuinely hopes you'll walk into with him. This emerging vision also shows through his choices. He starts making decisions with a wider lens, considering not only what benefits him, but what supports the connection he's building with you. His priorities shift, his lifestyle adapts. He becomes more aware of how his actions today shape the kind of life he wants tomorrow. When a man is crazy about you, he doesn't just want momentary thrills, he wants growth, stability, and alignment. He wants to build, not just experience. There is a delicate spiritual layer to this transformation as well. When a man feels deeply connected, it shifts how he perceives purpose. You become part of the meaning he is constructing in his life, not in a way that places responsibility on you, but in a way that recognizes how your presence elevates his path. You inspire him to think about the man he wants to be more grounded, more responsible, more intentional. Your connection becomes a mirror that reflects his potential, and he begins to rise to meet it. Future-oriented talk also manifests in how he handles conflict or discomfort. Instead of reacting impulsively, he becomes more thoughtful. He communicates with the intention of maintaining the bond, not winning arguments. He tries to understand, to listen, to repair. This is because he sees the relationship as something worth protecting long term. He doesn't want temporary emotions to sabotage a connection he envisions growing over time. His approach to challenges becomes more mature, more cooperative. He chooses solutions over ego. His long-term thinking also appears in how he shares his deeper goals. A man who is serious about you wants you to understand his path, not because he needs validation, but because he sees you as someone who might walk beside him. He reveals dreams that extend far beyond the present moment: career aspirations, spiritual growth, family hopes, personal evolution. He wants you to know who he is becoming, not just who he is now. He begins to ask about your dreams too, not casually, but with genuine interest, wanting to see how your paths might align. You'll notice that he begins to care about your future as much as his own. He encourages your ambitions. He supports your visions. He celebrates your progress. This isn't just affection, it's emotional investment. He wants your future to be bright, fulfilled, meaningful, because he hopes to be part of it. Your growth becomes a shared hope, not a separate journey. There's also a beautiful practicality in this shift. He begins to think in terms of we instead of me. Small decisions become collaborative. Plans become shared. He doesn't impose, but he invites. He doesn't rush, but he includes. His long-term thinking is steady, grounded, and sincere. When a man sees you in his future, it isn't about possession or idealization. It's about alignment. It means he sees compatibility not just in the present moment, but across time. He feels that your presence doesn't just fit his life, it enriches it. And without ever saying it outright, he begins moving in a way that affirms a simple truth. He wants a future where you exist beside him, not by chance, but by choice. When a man is genuinely crazy about you, the most powerful expression of his feelings isn't found in grand gestures or poetic declarations. It's found in his actions. A man's deepest emotions are often revealed not through words, but through the choices he makes, the responsibilities he embraces, and the consistency he maintains. Love, for him, becomes a verb. It becomes something he does, not something he simply feels. Action is his language of devotion. And when he is truly invested, this language becomes unmistakably clear. You begin to notice a new level of reliability. He follows through on what he says, not because he's trying to impress you, but because he respects you. He doesn't leave you waiting, guessing, or doubting. He protects the connection he feels by showing up when he says he will, by keeping promises, and by letting his effort speak for him. This consistency is one of the strongest indicators of genuine emotional investment. For him, showing up isn't a duty, it's a desire. He wants to be present for you because being part of your life matters to him. These actions often appear small at first, but they are full of meaning. He may go out of his way to help you with something you mentioned casually. He may handle the practical things without being asked, simply because he wants to lighten your load. He might rearrange his schedule to spend time with you, not out of obligation, but because being near you brings him fulfillment. His behavior reveals that he is not operating from convenience. He's operating from care. You'll also see this action-based devotion in how he prioritizes your emotional needs. When you're upset, he doesn't disappear or minimize your feelings. He makes space. He listens. He tries to understand before he offers solutions. He adjusts how he communicates because he wants the connection to thrive. Men who are deeply invested become mindful of their behavior, not out of fear, but out of respect. They understand that relationships grow through intention, not assumption. Action is also the way he protects the bond. If misunderstandings arise, he seeks clarity instead of allowing distance to grow. If conflict happens, he doesn't run. He works through it. He chooses resolution over avoidance. A man who is crazy about you values your peace, even when the conversation is uncomfortable. He doesn't let pride speak louder than connection. His willingness to repair, to communicate, and to grow is a direct reflection of the depth of his feelings. You may notice he becomes more responsible with his own life as well. He works on his habits, his discipline, his growth, not because you demand it, but because your presence inspires it. He wants to be someone worthy of the future he imagines with you. His actions begin to align with a vision of stability, commitment, and long-term partnership. He tries to be better, not for show, but because loving you awakens parts of him that want to rise. There's a quiet steadiness in the way he supports your goals too. He celebrates your accomplishments, encourages your dreams, and stands behind your ambitions. He doesn't feel threatened by your success. He contributes to it. His actions reveal a man who doesn't just care about the connection, he cares about your evolution. He wants to see you flourish, not just in the relationship, but in your life as a whole. He might not always articulate his love eloquently, but he expresses it in moments of reliability, in gestures of kindness, in acts of service, in the strength of his presence. His actions become the proof of his intentions. You feel it in the way he respects your boundaries, honors your time, and adapts when necessary. You sense it every time he chooses responsibility over excuses, clarity over confusion, effort over indifference. When a man is deeply invested, his behavior tells the story his emotions cannot fully put into words. He doesn't need to make promises about the future. He lays the foundation for it every day. He doesn't claim loyalty. He lives it. He doesn't ask for trust. He earns it. His actions reveal a truth that needs no explanation. He values you, he chooses you, and he is willing to put in the work to keep the bond alive. Heartfelt thanks for your time and support. Farewell and take care.